Right, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people around us, and I try to stay calm, man. But you know me, when I get all excited, I get all excited. Nothing really stopping me from telling the truth, even though if I have people around me, I have, for me it's very hard not to speak about the truth, for truth is just normality for me, you understand? So, you know, throughout the years, throughout the BMI, I'm a person who I think a lot in relation to what is established information, what is an established idea, what is an established tool, what is an established method. I'm an engineer, I know my shit, understand? So at some point I learned about a certain concept they are using. Well, it's dualism. It's about tracing back a thought and classifying it as either right or wrong. Anybody who has read this, Orwell's book, 1984, understands what I'm talking about. It's about ensuring a certain victim always changes perception, manufactures a fabrication in mind, confirms it in his own mind, and shows that confirmation as if it was a homogeneous sensation. So let's proceed on that which was from yesterday. Well, the Swedes have something that is lacking inside their brain. Something that is, there is something there, is a hole, there is something missing. And that's why they have had one of the greatest countries, and they now have one of the worst countries, and they blame Muslims for everything. Well, everybody understands that if you trace back the real issues, pretty much all issues, and you will see that you have something that is non-responsibility, which is a literally, at some point, it is, you see, you will never, in my life, I've lived here in Sweden for 37 years. In my life, I have never heard, read, seen, observed a single Swedish person take responsibility for a single thing happening in Sweden. Now, I will tell you one thing. At some point, what the subconscious is and what they are doing with this BMI. At some point, the only thing that they are doing is researching on themselves. I mean, they are actually researching on themselves. At some point, we all understand that in the language of cultural people, it means that you're fucking your own brain. It means that you're literally fucking your own brain to the point where you just start looping. That's what these people have started to do over here in Sweden. You see, once you don't find responsibility in any way, form or shape, what happens? Well, it's a scenario, right? They lost Volvo cars. Go read about Volvo cars. They lost Volvo cars. Up until now, there is not a single person, politician, academic, journalist, a single industrialist, a single economist, not a single person has written and said, I take responsibility for either or a certain context that was connected to something else. At some point, everybody has that which is, acceptance of responsibility for the whole fucking thing. They lost the Volvo cars. Now, they will still pretend today, when they drive around in their Volvo cars, as if it's Volvo and it's their own car. Well, it's not. Well, you see, if you don't take responsibility for losing something, you have not lost it. And this is very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't take responsibility for something that has been lost, you have not lost it in your mind. Remember what I said yesterday, the mind is very easy to trick. The mind can fill gaps. The mind, in that which is this country, these people, the Swedish men, they have a big hole. And in that hole is just premium fucking delusion. They don't see the fact that they lost Volvo cars. They pretend as if Volvo cars is still Swedish. They don't see the fact that they lost Saab Automotive. Same fucking story. Still pretending as if Saab is a brand of their own kind, of their own version. Because you see, you need to go through it. You need to accept it. You need to accept reality at some point. You see, reality is reality. And then we have that which is alternative reality inside the mind. An alternative reality can fabricate anything. Children who live in grown-up bodies at some point will behave like children even if they have grown-up bodies. Carrying no responsibility in a single instance of that which is important in your country, not a single responsible form factor anywhere, means only one thing, ladies and gentlemen. We're dealing with children who are controlling a country, a society. We're dealing with children who think they can handle a brain-machine interface. We're dealing with children who think they are good within neuroscience. We're dealing with children who think they understand psychological theories. We're dealing with children in relation to medicine. We're dealing with children in relation to research. We're dealing with children who think they can engineer the future, plan for the future. You see, there's not a single thing they proclaimed 8 years ago in relation to today which holds true. Well, we're not dying. The climate has not changed the way it should have changed. Look, they put billions and billions and billions of Swedish crowns inside the climate propaganda. You know what we have today? Like, what is the result? What we have today are foreigners who have done something with their own money. I'm referring to Elon Musk and Tesla, who have established himself as a hero in electromobility, a real hero, meaning he actually established an infrastructure for handling electric cars and the charging of electric cars. That is very important. They have put billions and billions and billions. What do we have? Well, I will tell you what we have, because I worked at that place where we produce something which is an actual result. An actual result. They have a result, and I will tell you all about the result. Now, the result itself, at some point, if you go back to my previous videos, you will notice one thing. Well, the result is quite weird. Well, they had a brain-machine interface established at Camp X, where they engineered a future, where Volvo have established themselves together with military, intelligence, police, researchers, academics and whatnot. And they decide to research on me and my brain for that which is a brain-machine interface which was established not by a localized connection, as in man to machine, but instead all people within the facilities who had to suffer the torture, and somebody explaining to them how to think about it. And that's what Orwell comes in. How to think about something that is real, reality. No, reject reality. Think about it like this and manifest it with your eyes when you walk. So you see, I worked at Campex at Volvo. They produce about 1,500 electric trucks in Sweden. Now, Sweden as a whole, as a country, have put so much money into climate agenda, and at some point we look, where is the result though? Where is the result? What is the result? And we see 1,500 trucks, and Volvo itself produces overall about, I think, 140,000 trucks. That's about 1% of the overall production. That's 1%. Now, I will tell you about this 1% also, because the 1% is completely fake, ladies and gentlemen. Well, they are so bad at engineering, they are so bad at planning, they're so bad at contract signatures, they're so bad at business, to the point where the electric trucks at some point have the cost, and have cost, like, first you have that which is cost of the truck itself when you buy it like this, about 4 to 5 times more expensive, because they're so bad at it. You see, when you buy a Tesla, it doesn't cost 4 or 5 times more than a car. When you buy from the Chinese, it doesn't cost. Why does it cost so when the Swedish engineers are producing it? Let's do 2 shots. I like the 2 shot when you shoot yourself twice in the head. That's what I like. Sometimes when we come to that, which is the result by comparison to Americans and the Chinese, because once you compare to both, let's take 2 shots. So you see, that 1%. First of all, You pay 4 or 5 times more. But they're so bad at engineering because I was an engineer and I saw everything, ladies and gentlemen. They don't work. They're not engineers. They are politicians, basically. Well, you have a hierarchy in there, ladies and gentlemen. You have a hierarchy in there. You have a political system. All these fucking titles, which you will find nowhere else in Sweden, are to be found at Volvo. Because Volvo themselves consider themselves to be, you know, we're part of this, the global. We're part of the global thing. We need the global titles. We need the global titles. What they got is a global fucking dick in their asshole. That's the only fucking thing they got, ladies and gentlemen. I kid you not. So, the 1%, as you can understand, any type of customer to Volvo, because they have customers, all these delivery companies, all these different cities, all these, you know, like Amazon buys a bunch of trucks, any type of express delivery service buys a bunch of trucks. Well, they're customers, right? But customers are customers. Everybody thinks about their business model, their business portfolio. And your business portfolio in relation to your, what do we call, stock owners. It is not to make ideological decisions. That is not including, unless we live in that which is a people who don't take responsibility and go by ideology. You see, responsibility is a result. It's objective. It is scientific because it's empirical. We look at a result, it holds value, actuality. It is not something we manufacture in brain by subjective interpretation. Very, very important. Very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. So once they lack responsibility, they can only fill up that gap with one thing: ideology. And that is who their customers are. Their customers are ideological. It is this city of Gothenburg. So where Volvo, like their headquarters is in Gothenburg. So where you have your headquarters, the very city who holds you as a company in there, buys a bunch of trucks from you. At that point, we're not dealing with business as in a pure capitalistic sense. We're dealing with give and take. And that's also why the company I worked at, where I was actually permanent employed, and then they hired me. Well, I had a contract with Volvo. So I was employed here, and then I had a contract with Volvo. They also have grown based upon ideology, meaning they don't offer anything. They don't have any good engineers. All their engineers are cheap labor, which they rent out for a very high price, where the Volvo is well aware of it. But because of certain favors, certain give and takes, they allow it. Just like the city who buys in their trucks, even though they know that they are super expensive, they allow it. It's the Swedish way, because responsibility is not a form factor in their mind. Responsibility means that you see things for what they are. So let's go back to that which is Orwell. Orwell, he had an ambition, the characters in the book, I remember it. It was an interrogation. Somebody had said something that was against a binary choice. I will teach you what manifestations and subjective manifestation ideology does to a system at some point. It is 100% truth, because we live in that which is about 70% towards that which is 100%, where we have literally an Orwellian structure regulating all of us here in Sweden. Okay. Interrogation. All right. So somebody said, I can't really remember everything, but somebody said, this is not a telephone. I want you to express it and say that this is a pastry. And the person in front of, like the person that was interrogated, was one of the citizens. And the citizens had been ordered to behave in a certain conditioning, in a certain structure, in a certain rule, in a certain format, in a certain path. Meaning we rule. We have the control of this country, and we decide what your mind must see when you see this telephone. Now repeat after me. It is not a telephone, it is a pastry. Accept it in your mind. Now this is the very most important part. They became so good at lying to themselves and ensuring other people lie in relation to what is objectivity. At some point what happened was that they looked for a result because they believed in it. The interrogators believed in it. They believed in it, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a pastry. They believed, you see, they changed it. It was a feedback loop. It was confirmed. At some point, the delusion became real in here by that which is the response. The brain gave you a certain reward. The Swedes are doing exactly the same thing today. The exact same thing today here in Swedish society is happening in front of everybody. And they're trying to proclaim that it's a society and it's not MK Ultra. It's 100% MK Ultra, which is going on in Sweden. So you see, for the interrogator, what he wanted was for the person to say that it is a pastry, proclaim it's a pastry, and give me the proper response. Meaning the persons who were interrogated, or who were interrogators, knew how a person who rewards himself neurologically with a certain manufacturing brain, a subjective manufacturing brain, knew exactly what to expect of the person who was interrogated. And at some point they were interrogated and they were looking for the response, not the words. Because at some point somebody who holds something true, it is a phone, it's not a pastry, but I can tell you that it is a pastry. That is a lie at some point. Conversion.